Hold on, before you click away, I need to tell you something that's happening right now in the camera world, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this could be the last chance you get to buy a DJI camera in the United States for a very, very long time. We're exactly 36 days away from a deadline that could shut down DJI sales completely in America. But before that happens, DJI is about to drop what might be their most revolutionary pocket camera ever made. Fresh leaks just surfaced 72 hours ago, and what I'm seeing is honestly blowing my mind. Stick with me because by the end of this video, you'll know everything about the DJI Osmo Pocket 4, why it's launching in such a rush, and whether you should be camping out for this release or holding onto your wallet. Let's get into it. Alright, so here's how this whole thing started. 3 days ago, a leaker named Igor Bogdanov, who has a crazy accurate track record with DJI predictions, posted something on X that sent the entire tech community into a frenzy. He shared a photo showing what appears to be the DJI Osmo Pocket 4 sitting on a mini tripod, wrapped in this distinctive checkered camouflage pattern. Now, I know what you're thinking. Another leak, another rumor. Who cares, right? But here's why this one is different. Igor didn't just post a blurry photo from some random factory. This image shows the Pocket 4 in what looks like a controlled testing environment, connected to a secondary action camera via cable, with someone actively adjusting the setup. This isn't concept art. This is a production-ready device being put through real-world testing scenarios. And then Igor added this cryptic caption that's been keeping me up at night. He said, "Oh, you've got it in your hands. That's good. Osmo Pocket 4, you're hiding some interesting features." Now, when a reliable leaker uses the phrase interesting features with that kind of confidence, you know something big is coming. We're not talking about minor spec bumps here. We're talking about features that could legitimately change how creators shoot content on the go. But the image itself tells us even more than Igor's words. Look at the form factor. Notice how the gimbal head appears more streamlined than the Pocket 3? See that sleeker body design? DJI has clearly gone back to the drawing board and reimagined what a pocket gimbal camera should look like. And based on the mounting setup in this leak, they're testing it alongside other cameras, which suggests they're benchmarking performance against serious competition. Here's the kicker though. This leak comes at a very specific moment in time, and that's not a coincidence. To understand why DJI is rushing this launch, we need to talk about something that's been looming over the entire company like a dark cloud. And trust me, this is where things get really interesting. Serious conversation about what's happening behind the scenes, because this isn't just about a new camera launch. This is about survival in the American market. Under the 2025 National Defense Authorization Act, the FCC has been given a very specific mandate. They must decide by December 23, 2025, whether to audit DJI for national security compliance. Now, if that audit doesn't happen, or if DJI doesn't pass it, here's what happens next. DJI gets automatically added to the FCC blacklist, and once you're on that list, you cannot sell telecommunications equipment in the United States. Period. Let me put this in perspective for you. The American market represents nearly 40% of DJI's global revenue. We're talking billions of dollars. This isn't some small regional market they can afford to lose. This is a massive chunk of their business. So, when you see DJI rushing to launch the Pocket 4 before December 23rd, this isn't about holiday sales. This is about getting products certified, establishing sales channels, and maintaining market presence before the regulatory hammer potentially comes down. Think about it like this. If you were DJI and you knew there was a chance you might not be able to sell products in your biggest market after December, wouldn't you push out your flagship products beforehand? Of course you would. You'd get them certified under current regulations, you'd build up inventory in American warehouses, and you'd make sure your distribution partners are fully stocked. That's exactly what we're seeing happen right now. Reports from Shenzhen indicate that DJI employees are already testing the Pocket 4 in retail stores, comparing it side by side with the Pocket 3. Beta units are in the hands of influencers under strict NDAs. Marketing materials are being prepared. The machine is already in motion. And here's something most people aren't talking about. The Pocket 3 has suddenly dropped to $529. That's a significant cut from its original price. When companies slash prices like that, they're clearing inventory. They're making room on shelves. They're preparing for something new to take its place. All the signals are pointing in the same direction. But enough about the business and politics. Let's talk about the camera itself, because regardless of why DJI is launching in such a hurry, what matters most is whether this thing is actually worth buying. And based on what I've been hearing from my sources, this camera is packing some serious surprises. Let me take you back to when the Pocket 3 launched. It was groundbreaking, don't get me wrong. That rotating screen was genius for vloggers. The 1-inch sensor brought genuine image quality improvements. But here's the thing nobody wants to admit. It was chunky. It was front-heavy. After holding it for 30 minutes, your wrist started feeling the burn. DJI clearly heard this feedback because the Pocket 4 represents a complete philosophical shift in design thinking. Instead of just adding more features and accepting the weight penalty, they went back to the fundamentals and asked a simple question. How do we make this more capable while making it lighter and more balanced? From what we can see in the leaked images and based on conversations I've had with people familiar with the development process, DJI has achieved something remarkable here. The Pocket 4 reportedly weighs around 179 grams. Now, compare that to the Pocket 3, which sits at approximately 195 grams. That might not sound like a massive difference on paper, but when you're holding a camera at arm's length for hours, every gram matters. That 16-gram reduction is significant. But it's not just about shaving weight. It's about where that weight sits. The leaked image shows a more compact gimbal assembly, which suggests DJI has moved components internally or redesigned the motor layout. This is huge because gimbal cameras have always suffered from being top-heavy. The camera head wants to droop forward. Your wrist has to compensate. It's tiring. But if DJI has managed to shift the center of gravity closer to your hand, this thing is going to feel dramatically different to use. Here's where I think DJI has been really clever. Rather than using the same sensor and just shrinking the housing, reports suggest they've potentially moved to a more efficient sensor design that requires less supporting hardware. Modern image sensors generate less heat, require simpler thermal management, and can use smaller lens assemblies while maintaining or even improving image quality. This means the entire optical stack can shrink without compromising performance. The gimbal motors themselves have likely seen an upgrade too. Newer brushless motor designs deliver the same stabilization performance with less weight and power consumption. This isn't just good for portability, it directly impacts battery life, which I'll talk about in a minute. And let's talk about ergonomics for a second, because this matters more than people realize. The Pocket 3's control stick placement was functional, but not ideal for everyone. Some users with smaller hands found it awkward to reach while maintaining a stable grip. The leaked images suggest DJI has refined the button layout, possibly moving controls slightly lower on the body where they're more naturally accessible. These small changes make a massive difference in real-world shooting comfort. One more thing I want to point out. Look at the mounting system visible in the leak. It appears more robust than the Pocket 3's connection point, which some users reported feeling slightly fragile when using heavier accessories. If DJI has reinforced this area while simultaneously reducing overall weight, that's impressive engineering. It suggests they're expecting users to mount more accessories more often, which tells us they're designing this camera for serious creator workflows, not just casual shooting. The industrial design itself looks more refined too. Smoother curves, fewer visible seams, a more premium aesthetic overall. DJI has been steadily improving their design language across all their products, and it looks like the Pocket 4 is getting the premium treatment. This is a camera that's going to look as good as it performs. All right, let's get into the technical stuff that's going to make or break this camera for serious creators. Because design is great, but if the image quality and features don't deliver, none of it matters. First up, the sensor. According to multiple sources, the Pocket 4 is sticking with a 1-inch sensor. But here's where it gets interesting. It's reportedly a newer generation sensor with improved light gathering capabilities. What does that actually mean in plain English? Better low-light performance, less noise in your footage when you're shooting indoors or at dusk, more detail in shadows without cranking up the ISO to unusable levels. The Pocket 3's sensor was already impressive, but sensor technology advances quickly. Newer sensors have better pixel architectures, improved color science, and more efficient readout speeds. That last part is crucial, because faster sensor readout means less rolling shutter, which is that annoying jello effect you see when panning quickly. If DJI has indeed upgraded to a newer generation sensor, we could see noticeably cleaner pans and smoother motion rendering. Now, let's talk video capabilities, because this is where things get really spicy. The Pocket 3 could shoot 4K at 120 frames per second, which is already fantastic for slow motion work. But here's what I'm hearing through the grapevine. The Pocket 4 might support 8K recording. Now, before you get too excited, I'm not saying it'll be the default shooting mode. 8K is still overkill for most creators, and it absolutely devours storage space and battery life. But having the option matters for two reasons. First, if you're a commercial creator who needs to deliver 8K footage to clients, Having a pocket-sized camera that can capture that resolution is game-changing. Second, even if you're delivering in 4K, shooting in 8K and downscaling gives you incredible flexibility in post. You can punch in, reframe shots, and stabilize footage with tons of room to spare. It's like shooting with a built-in zoom lens. Battery life is another area where I'm hearing promising things. The Pocket 3 gave you about 140 minutes of recording time under optimal conditions, real-world usage with the screen on, shooting in high frame rates, and actually using the camera like a normal person. You were looking at maybe 90 to 110 minutes before you needed to swap batteries. According to reports from people testing the Pocket 4, battery life could extend to around 180 minutes, possibly longer if you're shooting in standard modes. That's a significant jump. An extra 40 minutes of battery life is the difference between finishing your shoot comfortably and scrambling to find a power outlet. This improvement likely comes from a combination of factors, including a more power-efficient sensor, optimized processing, and possibly a slightly larger battery enabled by that redesigned internal layout I mentioned earlier. Audio is another area that's supposedly getting a major upgrade. The Pocket 3 had decent built-in mics, but serious creators always ended up using external audio solutions. Word on the street is that DJI has integrated a more sophisticated microphone array into the Pocket 4. Possibly with better wind noise reduction and improved directional pickup. If they've nailed this, it could eliminate the need for external mics in a lot of shooting scenarios, which is one less thing to carry and one less cable to manage. Stabilization is obviously critical for a gimbal camera, and this is where DJI has always excelled. But the Pocket 4 is reportedly taking things even further with what insiders are calling enhanced horizon lock mode. This means even if you're running downstairs, jumping, or moving erratically, the camera will maintain a perfectly level horizon. This technology has already appeared in DJI's action cameras, so seeing it migrate to the Pocket series makes perfect sense. Finally, let's talk about frame rates and recording options. The leaked test footage supposedly shows improved dynamic range, which means better detail in both bright skies and dark shadows simultaneously. If DJI has increased the usable dynamic range from the Pocket 3's already impressive performance, we're looking at footage that requires less color grading and looks more professional straight out of camera. All right, we've covered what the Pocket 4 is, what it can do, and how much it'll cost. Now let's talk about when you can actually get your hands on one, because timing is everything with this launch, and DJI is playing a very calculated game. All roads point to December 18, 2025. Multiple sources have independently confirmed this date. Leaked marketing timelines show a December 18th announcement. Retail partners have been told to prepare for mid-December inventory. Beta testers have been given guidance that suggests their NDAA lifts around that date. Everything aligns. Why December 18th specifically? Let's count backwards from the critical December 23rd regulatory deadline. DJI needs to announce the product before the 23rd to ensure it gets certified under current regulations, but they also need a few days between announcement and deadline to handle any last-minute regulatory paperwork. December 18th gives them that buffer, while still being close enough to the deadline to maximize their market window. It's also strategically perfect from a sales perspective. Announcing on December 18th means the product hits store shelves right around December 20th to 22nd. That's prime last-minute holiday shopping time. People buying gifts for creators, photographers treating themselves with year-end bonuses, anyone who wants the latest tech before the holidays. It's brilliant timing if you think about it. Now, what can you expect from the actual announcement? Based on how DJI typically handles product launches, and probably tease some of those mysterious features Igor mentioned, pre-orders will likely open immediately upon announcement. DJI has gotten very good at this process. You'll be able to order directly from DJI's website, and major retailers like B&H, Adorama, and Best Buy will have listings live within hours. If you want to guarantee you get one before the holiday shipping cutoff, you'll want to order quickly because first production runs always sell out fast. Here's something interesting I've heard from retail sources. Some stores are expecting supply constraints, at least initially. This could be because DJI is hedging their bets on US demand given the regulatory uncertainty, or it could just be typical new product launch constraints. Either way, if you're serious about getting a Pocket 4 at launch, don't sleep on pre-orders. Shipping estimates are reportedly showing delivery before Christmas for early pre-orders, but that window will close quickly. Once we get past December 20th, you're probably looking at post-holiday delivery, unless you pay for expedited shipping. So if this is a gift or if you have specific shooting plans over the holidays, timing matters. There's also chatter about a special launch promotion. Some sources suggest DJI might offer a trade-in program where you can send in your old Pocket 2 or Pocket 3 for credit toward the Pocket 4. This would make sense as a way to get older units back, refurbish them, and sell them in markets where the newest model isn't as critical. If this happens, it could significantly reduce the effective price for existing Pocket owners looking to upgrade. One final point about the launch. Given the regulatory situation, this might be the last major DJI product announcement we see in the US for a while. The company is likely going to go relatively quiet after this, at least in terms of new product releases for the American market. They'll focus on supporting existing products, fulfilling warranties, and watching how the regulatory situation develops. This makes the Pocket 4 launch feel even more significant. It's not just a new camera. It's potentially the closing chapter of an era for DJI in America. So, after everything we've discussed, let's answer the most important question. Should you actually buy the DJI Osmo Pocket 4? Here's my honest take. If you're a content creator who values portability without sacrificing image quality, this camera is absolutely worth considering. The combination of gimbal stabilization, professional-level sensor, and genuinely pocketable size is still rare in the market. You're getting a tool that can capture B-roll on a casual walk that looks like you had a full camera crew following you. The next few weeks are going to be wild in the camera world. We've got the Pocket 4 announcement coming, the regulatory deadline looming, and probably some surprise announcements from competitors trying to steal DJI's thunder. I'll be covering all of it right here on the channel. Until then, keep creating, keep pushing your skills forward, and remember that the best camera is always the one you actually have with you. The Pocket 4 just happens to make it easier to have a really good camera with you all the time. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.